Hello. Hi, guys. So we're going to start in just a second. Let me just make sure all the tech is working. And if you guys can hear me and see me, or actually better yet, if you can't hear me and see me, just go ahead and let me know in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat from my phone here, so I'll be able to see anything you guys write in there. And in the meanwhile, while we just wait to begin, go ahead and in the chat, if you see that little chat icon over there, go ahead and just say your name and say where you're dialing in from. And we'll begin in just a second. I'm just going to make sure everything is working. Again, if you're just going on, if you don't know, if you can't hear me or you can't see my screen right now, go ahead and let me know. In a second, I'm going to upload the slides, so that way you'll just be looking at the slides. You won't be looking at me for the moment. And I also want you to let me know if you can't see those, so just that way we can address anything. Awesome. Hey, Winifred, audio's good. Great. Good to hear that. Cool. All right, we're going to begin just shortly. And if anyone else is joining, go ahead and, again, just say where you're calling in from, say your name, say hi. A couple of other things to just let you know. Again, if you're logging in from your app, the mobile app, or if you're logging in from desktop, you'll see down at the bottom of the screen, there is a ask a question section. So that's where you can put in any questions that you have while I'm talking, especially if you have a question that you want to ask while I'm on a particular slide. Even though I may not get to that question at that point in time, I'll get to it at the end. So that way it'll be there and it'll show up in the replay as well. But if I can get to it, or if I'm able to answer it at that time, then I'll go ahead and answer it. You can also ask in the chat as well. That's totally fine. But you can use the ask the question just so it's all categorized there. And then that's pretty much it that you guys will have access to. If I throw a poll in there, then you'll be able to see the poll come up and go ahead and join that way. All right, so let's get started. I'm actually going to take my face off. I'm here, you see me, but I'm going to go ahead and start the slideshow, so that way you guys will just be looking at the screen. So if you can't see the slides at any point while I'm talking, again, let me know that. And we are going to go ahead and begin, so that way we don't run over. Yesterday we had a full session and we did go over just a little bit, but hopefully the goal here is to do this in 60 minutes, in an hour, and have time for any questions if there are any, and get you guys on your way. But let's go ahead and begin. I'm just going to turn off my video here. All right, so you guys are joining 3 things that you should do before you quit your day job, or like I say, how to get over your fear of going for it. So it's 2 of those main things that I'm talking about. The topic of the subject is, if you're in a day job right now, or if you're doing something that you don't particularly love right now, but there's something bigger out there for you and you just have to go ahead and pursue that. And that usually the reason why we don't do that is because of fear. So that's what this whole the whole theme of this webinar is about. But I will gear it towards what you should do before you go ahead and leave that currently, somewhat stable money position that you're in, which would be your job. All right, so we're going to go ahead and begin. Again, remember, let me know if you cannot see the slides right now, or if you cannot hear me, and I'll address that now, but it looks like everyone can. So let's go ahead and get started. So there's a couple of reasons why you guys might be here, and I usually find that it falls within these 3 buckets. Number 1 is actually my particular reason of where I was just a few years ago and why I decided to just go out and just go for it. And I haven't looked back since, and I'm really happy that I went ahead and did that. So one of the reasons why you might be here is that you're currently in a job, but you find yourself year after year after year always seeking out to find a new job or a new position within that company because you're just getting bored or feeling unfulfilled at your current situation. If that's where you're at, you're probably joining this chat because you're just like, I know I need to go ahead and do this thing that's bigger and bolder, but I just don't know how to do it. I particularly was at this point. I found myself, so I've been in the career field for a little bit now, and I had been working at jobs, stayed for about 2 years, and then would get bored and then would seek out new positions or a new job to work at. Slide went ahead here. Seek out a new job to work at. And I came to a point where I was just like, I can't keep on applying to a new job only to find out that 2 years later it's unfulfilling me. There literally was a point where I had to tell my last boss and say, you know, it's not you. It's me. That literally was the point that I got to. And I said, it wasn't you, it's me. I'm realizing that it's me who I'm not doing something that I'm loving right now, and I need to figure out what that was. So if you're number one, go ahead and just put that in the chat. I want to know who's in that situation right now. Also, another reason you might be here is that you're just feeling frustrated that others seem to be making big strides in their lives, and you're just feeling stuck at your point right now where you can't get to the next level, and you're just wondering what that is, and what you can do about it. So I'm particularly going to focus on, you know, how do you just really, you know, get yourself focused to start doing the actions. And I'm going to tell you, these are some, you know, some people may not like them because they can be hard actions or just actions that you feel uncomfortable with, but just doing the things that get you in front of the people that you need to get in front of and talking to the right people. So that way, this basically, you know, I call this the money exchange. How do you get these proposals? How do you get customers? How do you get clients on whatever it is? This webinar particularly focuses on that freelance/consultant role. So if you're going to go out there and try to freelance, you know, just to get started, or that side hustle, that's what we're focusing on, because obviously there's next steps and bigger steps that you take after you get just comfortable getting a little bit of a money exchange after that. So I love it. Yeah, totally 1, 2, and 3, all of it. Yeah, all of you might be here for all of these reasons, and that is good. Yeah, so let me know in the chat if there's a reason why you're here, if it's 1, 2, or 3, or all of them. You want to know, so number 3 is you want to know what's the secret formula or magic trick to manifesting your best life. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret. There's no magic in it happening. It's all about doing. I sometimes I look at where I am at a certain point in my life and I'm just like, wow, I got here. But then I think I forget the hard work that I had put in at the very beginning stages of getting to that point. And I'm like, I'll never do that again. But then I go ahead and do the hard work again because I want to get to a new point. So there's no magic formula here. It's just work. I'm going to give you some pointers on initial pointers on what that work is before you got to get there. So I want you to take a moment here to just have a what if moment, this imagination moment. So what if I can show you how to make the process of big change, making that big change, whatever it is that you want to do in your life, feel much easier and less scarier than it seems. One of the reasons that we don't take big jumps in our lives is because we feel that it's a risk, right? So if we're in a stable job and we try to go out and do our own thing, well, what if I don't make any money and I don't find any customers or clients, and then I find myself broke in 3 months and I have to go back to work or whatever. I have to, go live with my parents or something. That's scary. That's a scary feeling. You don't want to give up what you have for something that's unknown, right? But what if I can show you how to make that feel easier and less scarier? What if we can also remove any frustrations that you're having right now and turn that into energy? We want to turn it into positive energy and do something with that energy, right? So you can look at, the photos on Instagram. You can do all sorts of stuff, just listening to people and hearing the fabulous life that people have, right? Like I'm sitting here going to tell you like, hey, that life can be great. But like, if you just sit there and take that in and just compare yourself to other people and what other people are doing, it's going to frustrate you. And that serves you no purpose, right? That's energy wasted. So take that energy and turn it into positive energy and figure out what's the way and what's the action that you have to take. And then number 3 is, what if I can tell you exactly what you do need to do to make things happen in your life? So there's lots of things that you could do to make things happen. We're going to go ahead and talk about 3 things right now that you can start doing. And then other things will start manifesting too in your own kind of creative ideas and other things that make sense to the exact positions that you guys are in. So imagine that right now. That's why you're here. We're going to look to get you guys from hopefully this point A of where you're at right now to that what if point, that B point. So you can hopefully improve the situation that you're in right now. So here was my story. Like I said, I had been a working girl for pretty much all, from college to basically up to 3 years ago. And I was always getting jobs. So that was, I was lucky in that point. I always seemed to have a job, that was leading into what became a career. And I would always, of course, get excited when I got that job, got the, salary. This is how much you're going to get paid. I was like, yes, okay, this is great. I love this, and going to be here forever. That's kind of one of the things you just, think in your head, right? Especially early on. And then what would happen to me, and I noticed this was a pattern, every single job I had after year 2, I felt bored. I felt unfulfilled, and I wanted to quit. And I would look for a new job, and I would start putting my resume out there. I would start going online, and I was just done. And even if it came to a point where sometimes, you're just looking for jobs at job after job and you're not getting them, then you start looking internally and you say, well, what if I just even change positions or something? And that was just always my situation. I was unfulfilled after 2 years, and I needed to do something about that. And when I finally became unfulfilled for the last time in terms of work, it was in 2016, and well, it was around 2014, 15 when I started planning for it. But 2016 was when I decided to quit for the last time, I would say, at least at that point in my life. And I quit that last job that I was in, and basically went out and found out what is pretty much, I call this kind of like, this was the best kept secret because no one really told me, or I had no one in my circle to really tell me that this was possible, that you can own your own time, which was something that I valued, freedom and independence, not having to be stuck in an office from 9 to 5, and you can make money while doing so. And sure, you can, so, there's lots of different spectrums of how you can make money. You can be one of those 6, I'm making $1 million a year, $1 million a month type of people, and that's fine. And you got to find a way to go ahead and do that. Or you can be like, hey, I'm making just about what I was making in a salary at work, or I'm making a little bit more than I was making on a salary at work. Whatever it is, can you sustain yourself while having independence in your own time and make money while doing so? So that's really the point of where I'm going to get at, right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, hey, here's how you can make $1 million in a month. No, that's not what this webinar is about. This webinar is about strictly showing you how can you own your own time if that's important to you, because that was important to me, and how can you have that freedom and independence. And one thing about me, I'm a traveler. I've always loved traveling. I've been that way since I graduated college. And that was one of the things where I was tired of taking 2-week vacations and trying to slot out travel within this 2-week time frame. I wanted more of it, and I wanted more independence of it. So I had to figure out a lifestyle that worked for me. You don't have to, just because you want to quit your job and have your own time doesn't mean you have to be traveling. It could mean other things for you. One of the other things that I've realized in having my own time is that I'm able to tend to personal matters and family matters at a level that is dictated on me. About 4 years ago, my father had a stroke. He's okay now, but at that time I had to he was in Florida, in Miami. I had to fly down from New York, where I was living at the time, to be with him. And I remember feeling that guilt of like, well, my boss was okay with it, of course, and they had sympathy, but just this kind of like guilt that you always have because you're just taking this, this time off, and you don't know what you're going to come back to because you've been gone for so long to attend to something that's important to you, which was your family matters. So I remember feeling that kind of way, and knock on wood, at this point, nothing has happened health-wise or family-wise, but if something were like that were to happen, I can have that own freedom and independence without having this kind of guilt that was going on when you have to be in this office and kind of check into people and things like that. So those were one of the things that I realized that having your own time can be truly beneficial for. So, flash forward today, 2018, I work from just about anywhere. And trust me, I'm home-based. I'm home-based more often than I'm traveling because, I'm just working from home or working out of a co-working space. But, you have that time. And when I do want to just get away and work from somewhere else, I can. And that's what I do love about this current state that I'm in right now. And if it's something that you're trying to go after, I'm just here to tell you that it is possible. So I want to talk about the freelance consulting growth. So like I said, we're going to focus on just basically trying to get you to this side hustle / freelance or / consultant area where you can make just a little bit of cash or some cash to start being able to see that you have the capability to sustain yourself. Because once you realize that you can make money on your own without that, that paycheck that I'm like, I have a salary for that I have to rely on, you can do things, and you can, again, maybe you're freelancing for right now, but your next step is to launch this product that you've really been looking to launch. Maybe your next step is to write this book that you've really been looking to do. But the fact that you're owning back your own time and giving you the time to kind of just basically arrange when it is that you want to work and how you're going to make your money, it gives you that ultimate power and more power. Okay, so the freelance growth, what I say and what I'm gonna kind of just take you through is when I first started, so before I quit my job, probably about 3 months before. So I started planning a little late, depending on where you guys are at. And if you guys want to shoot it in the chat, have you quit your job already? Are you thinking of quitting your job? Do you not have a job right now and you're looking to just, make something happen regardless? So what stage are you at? Because the stage that I was at was again, for my goodness, I think I wanted to quit that current job that I was in for the past 2 years. And then it wasn't until about 6 to 7 months out that I said, okay, I have to do this. And then I really started planning maybe about 2 or 3 months before I quit. So I would say, start planning a little earlier, but depending on where you're at, just start planning. And so about 2 months before I had quit, I said, okay, I need to find out, how does it even work to just make money on the side? How does it even work to just find someone else who's going to pay you? I had never gotten paid outside of a paycheck. I never took really odd jobs or side jobs or anything like that. So for me, that was a new stance for me. And I needed to figure out, how do I do that? So the first thing I did was I started looking out for just kind of gigs that were out there and who needed something done that I had the capability of doing. One of the areas that I had wanted to get into was writing more. So I had looked for different types of things, blog writing, content writing positions, and gigs that people needed. And I happened to find this publication that needed music review writers for their site, and just to do just one-off articles here and there. And I think, they were looking, they were just hiring a bunch of people to go ahead and push out these articles for them on a contract basis, not on a contract basis, but just on just a project basis. And I was like, hey, I could do this. And they said, yeah. I don't even think they needed any qualifications. You just needed to write, minimal edits needed to be done. And, you got it. So I had to send them just a sample of, what I've written before. And I sent them a sample because maybe about 2 weeks before that, I had written a blog post, my first blog post. And, then, got paid $25 for that. And now $25 is nothing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to go after and seek out $25 gigs. But the whole goal there is that I got paid just enough. It was just a little. I got paid a little. And that was just enough to let me know that and give me that indication of, oh, okay, you can get money out there. You just have to seek it. You have to find it, and you have to put yourself out there and say, whatever it is that you need to be done, I can do this, and then take it. And of course, for $25, I didn't negotiate anything there. I just took the role so I can just see what it is that I like to do and just test out the waters a bit and try it out. So I was working at the time still too. So again, this was just pocket cash, pocket change. And I was excited about that $25. Obviously not because it was a lot of money. It was not. I was excited about that $25 again, just because it showed me that it is possible to get paid just a little bit and get started. So after that, of course, now I said, how am I going to go get more? And that motivated me for the first time ever to get more on my own. So I started reaching out to find bigger contract deals. And literally the very next contract that I took, which actually ended up closing and the deal closed only about 2 to 3 months after I quit my job. So I basically landed a $78,000 contract. So, started at $36,000, working over a couple of months with them. And then we renewed at a little bit higher. And overall, that deal turned out to be $78,000. So I didn't whittle waddle and just start, hey, now I have $25 project. Now let me pitch the next person $100. Now let me pitch the next person $500. No, I thought big and said, okay, how do I make this real? So that way I'm okay once I quit my job. So we're going to look at, if you're a freelancer, if you're trying to consult, if you're just trying to do a side hustle, how do you go from, all right, let me just get comfortable with this, this first sale that could be so little, it doesn't matter, to, okay, how do I make this big and how do I go bigger? So the purpose of this workshop, what we're going to talk about. So like I said, the 3 things that you're going to want to do before you quit your job. So we're going to talk about job security, because I think that's one of the main things that people get nervous about before quitting is, job security. How do I know that if I quit my job, that's job security means that's the money that's coming in. If I quit my job, that means no money's coming in and I'm relying on this stream that I have. So we're going to talk about how do you keep that cushion once you do quit. We're also going to talk about getting specific on your goals. This is one of the most critical things that I had done before I launched, which was being super specific. I hadn't been specific before when I just said, oh, I want to leave my job. I want to do something bigger. I hadn't known what I wanted to do. So I had to get super specific on my goals and really refine that as I went through. We're also going to talk about niching down. So I have defining your niche as the third one item, because I found that I had to kind of get through 1 and 2 before I niche down. So you can, if you know specifically what you want to do, then you can niche in the beginning, but we're going to talk about why it was important for me and why I still think it can be really beneficial to wait to niche until you've done a few steps first. And then just kind of the last as a bonus there, what I call the critical ALP, which I'm glad that I had gotten this advice early on and was able to venture off in the solopreneur world in a more confident state because I had done these, what I call the critical ALP at first. All right, so let's go ahead and begin this. So before I do, let me go ahead and tell you who I am, just in case you're wondering who's Jenny here. So Jenny, like I said, I run my own marketing consultant agency, and that is basically where I work with clients specifically on the email marketing automation space. And it's a really technical part of emails, if you ask that. And the process of how I got there, that's a story in of its own. But I do come from a marketing and advertising background. Launched that, like I said, I'm telling you the story of where I was in the beginning, which was kind of tinkering at things and taking on projects to going bigger and going bigger. And now I'm at a point where I actually have a team and I have contractors who are working for me and getting projects done, and I'm basically overseeing the whole project. So I'm able to even be freer from my own company now because I've been able to grow to a point, systemize my business to a point where I'm not the one doing all of the work. I have a reliable team that I trust who's able to execute for me. So it, like I said, there's stages, and that could be a whole other story in its own, is what do you do after you've hit that? You've got your side hustle going, you have your freelancer going, how do you even grow that even more? Because that's usually the thing that you ask. I remember one of the questions that someone asked me when I first started my consultancy saying, what's your scaling plan? How do you plan to scale this? And I did not know. I was like, what are you talking about? I just started freelancing. What do you mean scale? But it's an important question to ask yourself early on, because I have a model that you should always be pivoting. That's the key to growth. That's my key to growth. Always pivot. Always challenge yourself a little bit more. So yeah, I have my consulting agency boutique agency, and then I also have online courses in my online school where we'll talk about that in just a second. So where can you do more learning for me, just like similar to this style where you're joining my online training. So I also have taught live workshops with General Assembly, which is a globally known institution worldwide, teaching marketing classes with them, with their corporate groups and small business owner groups, as well as I've worked at the New York Times, so I come from the traditional media in advertising space, have also worked with startups, and then University of Florida graduate. For any Florida Gators in the room, or just anyone from the Miami in the room, just let me know. All right. So I'm going to talk about the quitter's ladder. How did I get here? So I call myself a quitter, and I'm really glad that I kept on quitting, because one of the things, especially my parents or anyone who was an adult older than me in my life when I was young, they definitely, and no blame to them, but that's the world that they grew up in. They would always tell me, find a job, stay at it, and live your career there until you retire. And that's the advice that I always got, and I never took it. I just couldn't. I just was one of those people that could not stay in a position that did not fulfill me. And if I got bored, I'd have to figure out something to do. So I kept on quitting. My very first job, my first real job, I would say, out of college was in around 2005 timeframe, 2004-05 timeframe. And I got fired from that job. So that was the first time. And then last time I got fired, because after that, I just kept on quitting. But I got fired at 24 years old. And that was that, if anything, I'm definitely happy that happened, because for me, that made me really realize that you have no control over the jobs that you're in. You know, it could just be that that person may not like you, may not like the work you're doing, does not have time to train. It does not matter. It just, you have no control over that. And it's nothing to beat yourself over. If you have gotten fired or you happen to get fired, it's just something that's a matter of fact life that it just happens. So when I got fired from my first real job at 24, I was devastated, and I was just like, okay, got to find this next job. And I did. I got lucky, about 2 to 3 months later, I did find another job and landed at a job that basically began the projection of the trajectory of my career. So it's almost like I had to get fired in order to get into the career path that I desired. Because what happened is that job, I forget what it was. I think it was like an insurance, like writing or something. I have no idea. I just took the job. But what I did is I ended up getting a job after that at a major newspaper in South Florida. So that's what led me into the media world, which I did love because I always wanted to be in the advertising area of things. So I stayed at that company. And then about 2 years later, I decided that, okay, I actually just want to leave Florida and I want to move to New York. So in around 2006, I started planning my exit to move to New York and landed a job at the New York Times in 2007, early 2007 at the start of the year. And that was my dream job because it was like I've gone from a Florida newspaper to one of the most major, well-known newspapers in the world, the New York Times. And I didn't get that, it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't just an easy way I didn't know anyone. I definitely didn't know anyone in New York who could help me get that job. I just had to do the work. It was 72 resumes that were sent out, 34 cover letters, 5 interviews, all had to happen in that 1 week because I didn't live in New York at the time, but I told them I was in New York just so I didn't have that as a barrier. So I had to do a lot of work to get that position that I wanted in 2007. I did love it. And I did stay there for 7 years. So that was probably my longest stint of a career, staying at the New York Times for 7 years. But then finally, I did decide that, okay, I need to move on from the traditional newspaper world. I need to go on to the startup media space because that's where things are moving. So I quit in 2007. One thing I'll say about my stint at the New York Times, so it's not that I stayed in position for 7 years there, because trust me, every 2 years I was still getting bored. But what would happen is I would go into new roles and new positions and then get excited about those. And then again, move into a new role because I got bored again. So after I left the New York Times, went into a startup, my first time ever getting into a startup, and it was good. I stayed there for a year, so not even a long enough time to even say if I loved it or hate it. It was just that I was ready to go, and I had another offer that had gotten to me through an actual old colleague of mine offering more money, and I was like, you know what, let me just go. And so I left and I quit and went to another late startup. And I did stay at that late startup for about 2 years. And of course, grew frustrated and tired. Leadership changes were happening. And then I said, and that was the time in around 2015 where I said, you know what? This is the last time I'm going to quit a job. I'm going to go off on my own. So that's when that finally happened, and I launched my business. So I like to call this the quitter's ladder. If you are climbing up the quitter's ladder, or if you've been up the quitter's ladder before, go ahead and raise your hand in the chat. All right. So what I learned about quitting jobs is a couple of things. So there's a couple of myths out there, and I just want to get that out to you right now. Is one of the myths is that, that quitters never win. Well, okay, I'm just going to say this. It depends what you're quitting, right? Yeah, I get it. Don't quit when the going gets tough, right? If you're at it. So right now I'm working on my business. I'm making sure I run it because I love it, and I love it. So I'm not going to quit what I'm doing right now because I'm in a happy place of it. But if you're in something that you don't like, something that's not making you feel good, something that's making you unhealthy. I mean, this goes to anything in life, right? Anything that's, relationship wise, if you're smoking and that's not good for your health, all of those things that are not good for you, things that are unfulfilling, you should quit. I don't think that, those things those are things that you should stay doing. So I'm a big fan of, figuring out what you need to do to change up a situation that's not making you happy. Myth number 2, it looks bad on your resume if you quit. I don't think that is any longer the case. If you've done something awesome when you've quit. So let's say you did quit your job to go ahead and start your own side hustle, your business, and it's, it didn't work out, or you ran into a situation where you really just need to go back and get a job. That's not a bad thing. And that's not something that you should feel is a failure. You did one of the hardest things in life, which was start your own hustle. And yeah, maybe you have to go back to a job. Maybe that job will be temporary, but you can explain that in your resume. So even if you do take this risk and this jump, maybe you move to another city for a year and just traveled or whatever it is, those are things that you can explain in your resumes. You just have to position it. And the thing about now, I think most decent people, so you don't want to work with any jerks in life, right? But if you interview with a boss who's a decent boss and you tell them what you've done during that downtime and all the amazing stuff that you've worked on and challenges that you tried out, that person should admire that, because that's going to show how hard of a worker you are. If I ever had to go back to a job today, I will literally tell them everything that I've done to build up my business. And I'll tell them the story of why I decided to go back. But that should be something that would impress them. If it did not impress that person, I wouldn't want to work there anyway. So I think it's a myth that you should think that your resume is altered if you have a break in it. It's a sign of weakness if you quit your job. Not at all. I think it's weak if you're staying at something that you don't like. I think it's weak if you're taking the grunt and you're not getting the recognition that you deserve. So I don't think it's a sign of weakness at all. You should get advice from others first. So here's something that I'm really sensitive to is about making decisions and making your own decisions. Everyone has different experiences in life. Everyone has their own things that they've gone through. So you can easily just go ahead and ask others for advice, but not to their own fault. They're going to give you advice that reflects on their experience. So that's not always going to be true for you. I always like to, so you have to find your biggest advocates when it comes to making, bouncing off ideas off of people, because you need to know who your advocates are. You might have find one person who is just always your cheerleader, and they're just never going to really give you their opinion because they're understanding that whatever you do, it's going to work for you, right? And they don't want to inflict their negative aspects of things on you. So that's who I call your cheerleaders, and you always want a cheerleader. And then you always want that person who's like the devil's advocate, who can just give you different sides. They're not going to tell you what to do, but they're going to give you all the different kind of like the good stuff and the bad stuff that can happen, and just questions. So that way you can just think in advance of the troubles or objections that might come up before you make your decision. So it's always good to have just those two people. The cheerleader, I actually call my mom the cheerleader, because my mom is not a risk taker. She's been same field, same position for since I was a kid. She looks at me and she's in awe every time she sees the things that I do, because she's just like, who are you? How did you get this personality? And but I call her my cheerleader, and I always tell her the things that I'm going to do. Like, hey, I'm going to quit this job, and this time I'm just going to actually go off and do my own business. And my mom will say to me, great, that's awesome. You can do that. Forget that job. She will always say that. She's always, whenever I told her I was going to quit a job, she was like, great, they don't deserve you anyways. And that's all she would say. And it was, for me, it was like, okay, great. I guess I can do it. If she says I can do it, I can do it. And she will always say that. I've just come to realize that she will never stop me from doing what I want to do, because she's come to realize that whatever I do, I'm going to work really hard at it, and it's going to make it happen. She knows that, she's like, I'll always be here, you can fall back on, but she knows that that's the last thing that I want to do is fall back on her. So she's my cheerleader. I call her that. And then I have a few, different friends that I'll pick out depending on what the topic is, who are my devil's advocates. So that's it. When it comes to getting advice, don't ask the world. I wouldn't put, I think you're just going to get too many opinions that can clutter your mind and your decision process, and too many choices leads to indecision. So that's what I call that. You're not ruining your future if you quit your job, if you do the things that need to be done to get in the right path, right? So the mindset here is that you're not just quitting your job to join some get rich quick scheme that is not possible, right? You're hopefully leaving where you're at right now to go ahead and do something that is bigger and better, and something that has potential to lead you in a better path. So, and then what we're going to talk about just now is job security, and talk about the myth about job security. So we'll talk about that in just one second, but it's a myth that your job is a job security vehicle for you, because it is not. All right. So the fact is, and what I want everyone to realize, is that your unique story makes a new reality. So you are the one creating a new historical moment in life, and it's for you. So anything that you do becomes a new reality. If I had never left my job to start a new company, I would have stayed at the same job, and the story would not have been Jennifer was able to quit her job and launch a successful company, and keep it going so far, 3 years right now. So that became a reality. It wasn't a reality before. I never did it. So whatever you do, whatever actions you take becomes a new reality. So it's your job to make those new realities and cancel out any myths that are out there. All right. A couple more things. What I wish I would have done differently, and this is going to lead into what I'm going to tell you today, is I wish I would have went off earlier. And I always like to say these and position these are not regrets, because you learn from them. And what I say now is that I'm actually teaching you what I've learned from. And I actually wish I would have gone off earlier. I didn't have the confidence to. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know where to go to get the kind of advice and direction. So I didn't quit early enough, and I could have, but I wish I would have gone off on my own earlier, because I definitely had the potential to. It's just that I didn't have the confidence. So sometimes it's just your own confidence and inhibition that's holding you back from doing something bigger. So it's up to you to give yourself that confidence. The other thing I want to just mention on that is imposter syndrome. We all have it in ourselves. So a lot of the reasons why we don't do anything is because we feel that, well, we're not this, we're not that person, we're not that, we'll compare ourselves to, we'll see someone on social media and say, well, they have 20,000 followers. That's why they can do it. So I can't do it. I only have 300. That doesn't mean a thing. That means nothing. You can be, everyone started at point A. So you just have to find what's your point A and start doing the action. So don't let imposter syndrome cloud your judgment on yourself. I do wish I would have started investing in my business earlier, which I mean starting little side hustles, getting little projects earlier on to just start gaining the momentum while I was at a job. I also wish I would have branded myself earlier. I held off on that. I think one of the main reasons, obviously while I was in the job and definitely even a little bit after I had left my job, I felt as if I was betraying, my work world and my current and my coworkers and my boss by wanting to do something different. So I didn't brand myself as expert in this type of, I didn't position myself that way. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. And I think that was definitely a falter because it was hindering me. You kind of just have to just not care what other people are going to think and put yourself out there as early as possible as you can. And then one thing I'll say for you, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, is just that you definitely want to start putting yourself out there. Social media is a vehicle, or whatever type of media marketing that you're comfortable with. Get on that vehicle and do it, because it's all out there. We can all become, experts and influencers and people who are noticed just because we all have access to social media now. And that wasn't the case 20 years ago, where unless you had $1 million to put an ad on a TV, you couldn't get yourself out there. Now everyone has pretty much access, whether it's free or whether it's with a little budget. You can put yourself out there, and you should. And then last but not least, I wish I would have found someone who was doing something that I wanted to do a little earlier. So I wish I would have talked to more freelancers earlier, or more consultants earlier, because it would have helped me just kind of get through some things without making, mistakes on my own. So yeah, I absolutely wish I would have done those things. But like I said, we're here now. None of them are regrets. It's things that I've learned from. And it was like, all right, those weren't big deals. I got through them. So all right, let's get to this. What are the 3 things that you should do before you quit your day job? Or in other words, how do you get over that fear and get what you want? So one thing to let you know, so stick around, and some maybe have to leave early. And if you do, that's totally fine. The replay will be there, but I will be getting into what are some bonuses and what's coming up, in terms of, this limited time offer. So stick around for that. Or if you can't, make sure you watch the replay to the end, and you'll be able to get in on that, and see what's going on here. So, all right, let's go ahead and begin. And so let's talk about this job security myth that I talked about, and how do you get over that fear of that your job is the most secure thing that you have in terms of monetary income. So you can get fired. I told you that story. I got fired. You can get fired any day in the position that you're in. You don't know what can come up. It can be that your boss, the head of the company, whatever, decided that they didn't like you. It could be that they decided that they needed to hire someone else that anything can happen. You can get fired for any reason. You can make a mistake, and that mistake may be unforgiven for that boss at the time, and you can get fired for that way. For any reasons that are outside of your control, you can lose your job. So job security is a myth. You can also get laid off from your job. I was in, like I said, I was working in the newspaper media industry. At the New York Times, I faced so many layoffs. I faced a layoff literally 3 months after I had moved to New York, got an apartment and was in the job. I was at the New York Times for 3 months, just started getting comfortable into my seat. And then they announced layoffs. Why? Because it was 2007, the financial meltdown had happened, and everything was being cut at newspapers. So I freaked out. I was like, what? I just moved here. Am I going to just have to move back to Miami because I lost this job? So and I went through many of those because, again, it was a newspaper industry. So there were a lot of layoffs going on from 2007 to about 2010. And I had to go through many. I got saved. Luckily, I didn't get laid off, but they were big possibilities for me and they could have happened. So, I've been through these things where I just come to realize that you're not safe even in a job. Right? Your position can be eliminated or the company can have a merger. So all of these things can happen. So if job security is the thing that's holding you back, I think you should let it go because jobs really aren't that secure. Of course, they are good at the moment you're in them, and you should, if you love your job, obviously stay there and be there. But if it's the thing that's holding you back, I think you should rethink that. When running my own company now, everything really is in my control. Of course, there are factors that can happen, and I have to try to mitigate any things that I can control, and hopefully that they don't happen. But for the most part, I'm in control of my own destiny. If I notice that a client is not going to renew, or a client is shifting bit, or whatever it happens, and I might lose a certain amount of income from that particular client, I know what I have to do to get that next client, or I know the things that I have to do to always make sure that I'm keeping the amount of revenue that I want to come in consistent. So I have control over that, right? So list goes on about why job security is a myth. And one thing so here's what I say that you need to do as you're getting ready you want to do that big thing, is just start getting paid a little. Start that side hustle. You shouldn't rely on one income stream anyways. You should find something else that can get you paid, and then hopefully that will grow, and we'll talk about ways to grow that. So there's ways that you can find that additional income, and passive income is great. We're not going to actually talk about that in this live training, but we're going to talk about that, that income that you are going to work for. So it's that freelance type of income. And it's the reason why I'm talking about this in particular is because it is the thing that's attainable for pretty much anyone. If you have a capability to do any single thing, everyone has a unique skill. Anyone has something that they can do. It may not be fabulous and like flashy, but everyone has some kind of skill that they can do. And with that skill, you can freelance. You can get a little side hustle and do side projects. And so that's where I'm going to stress here. And there's ways that you could find those kind of gigs. Upwork is a site that's out there, and nothing wrong with Upwork. You can totally try it. It is competitive though, because there are freelancers on there putting their services up there, and they're from all over. They're global. So in terms of rates, you could be competing against someone who lives in, let's say you live in Los Angeles and you're competing against someone who lives in Kansas City. These two people are going to have two different hourly rates. So it could be competitive in that sense. You're also going globally, you're competing against people, in different countries as well. So just be careful with sites like Upwork, because there's lots of freelancers on there. But what I'm going to particularly talk to you after those dollars on your own. So hopefully you don't have to go onto an Upwork, but you can check freelance. You can, you're just gonna have to put yourself out there and pitch yourself. So you can pitch yourself as a freelancer, of course. One thing that I recommend, and this was something that I did straight on, is actually not even pitch myself as a freelancer. I pitch myself as a consultant coach. Why was that? Because I said, you know what, we're gonna talk about things that I can do, and I have quote unquote expert status on, because the people I were pitching did not have anything and did not even want to learn what, the things that I knew, because why would they? They're running their own business. So I said, hey, I am an expert. I'm a consultant or a coach on this, and I can help your company do X, Y, Z. So if you're able to position yourself as some kind of consultant, a fashion consultant, a business consultant, a sales consultant, whatever it is, marketing consultant, you are positioning yourself as an expert in this area who can train, help implement services for a different company. There are a lot of small businesses out there right now, because lots of companies they're startups. We're in the startup culture right now. So there are endless amount of companies that you can reach out to pitch your consulting or coaching services. And for me, that is a very manageable way to start gaining that additional income. Even if you start off small and then eventually go big, it's a way to start earning some income. So how do you get people to pay you for what you know? Like I said, it's a skill set. So one thing that you can do is look into what you're doing today. So if you're at a job, first of all, what's your role? What's your job title? And then what's in the job description? What are you supposed to do? And we all know that just because it's in the job description, you're probably doing even more than that. What other things are you doing in that job? And so you have that. And then also look at, outside of your job, or if you're not in a job right now, but in, daily life, what is it? Maybe your family is always calling you to do this one thing. Maybe, you're the tech support of the family, right? Every time someone's computer crashes, they call you. So maybe you're the tech expert of the family. What is it that you're just skilled at doing that you just really have, good skills at? Are you a problem solver? Are you a good person to talk to? So quote unquote, this kind of therapist for the family. All of these things are different skills that people particularly know how to do, because we all aren't skilled at everything. Trust me. I'm more skilled on the tech side, but if you ask me to go ahead and go ahead and design your house, and I'm not that person. I'm not an interior designer. I don't have those skills, and I have no desire to do those skills. I know a lot of people in the area who are consultants in just organize, getting your, I know a girl, and I know a couple of people who are really good at it. And what they'll do for you, they're organizers, professional organizers. So they'll organize your office, they'll organize your home, they'll even organize. I know one person who's also niched her services into organizing everyone's tech life. And I was like, I could use your services because I have files all over my desktop, scattered everywhere. And I am just not, when it comes to like my digital life, I know how to use everything tech, but I just have no organizing system for it. And that's what she does. So you can find out what it is that you can specially put yourself out there as being skilled at doing, and find and craft your product and service based on those things. So the world is endless, and depending on what skills that you have. And the other thing I'll mention too is and maybe you don't have that skill today, but you want to learn something, you're really interested in it. What can you learn? What do you have the time to learn from right now that other people don't want to learn? And that's one of the areas that I did, is when it came into like I said, I started off in the email marketing, automation, technical aspects of email. Everyone needs that, but it's a learning curve to do that, especially to do it on your own. So me going out and learning that, it's not something that I did in my career at all. I had to learn that, but then I knew I would enjoy learning that. So me learning that gave me the ability to niche that out and offer that as a service. So there might be something that you can learn that you can go ahead and repitch as a service that you can offer. So what I want you to do right now is just kind of reflect for a moment, just about a minute. What I want you to do is make a list. So you could take out a sheet of paper, you could write on your notepad, you could put it in the chat if you want to too, but make a list of 5 skill sets that you have that you can do today that you think others may need help with. So whether that's social media, maybe you're just good. Maybe you could just even create an account, and lots of people don't even know how to create their social media accounts. Maybe it's that. Maybe you're good at social media posting and content creation. Maybe it's writing. Maybe you have a good eye and you can take photos. It doesn't even have to be professional photography. Some people just need like Instagram shots in their daily lives, right? Are you good with numbers? Can you do bookkeeping, accounting? So take about a minute and go ahead and write 5 skill sets that you have that you can do today and that you can offer out. So take about 30 more seconds. 5 skill sets that you have that you can do today that you think others may need help with. And like I said, one of the best things that because if someone would have told me, 2-3 years ago, that people get paid for organizing your office or your like I said, your desktop, I would laugh. But like I said, I know someone who is killing it as a project, as a professional organizer, killing it, literally killing it. She's doing really well. Okay, so you got your 5 skill sets. Now the next thing that I want you to do is list 2 top industries that you happen to be familiar with. And those and I say familiar with because maybe you've worked in industry. Maybe you were an executive assistant at a bank. then finance banking is an industry that you're familiar with. Anything like that. Maybe you've worked at an accounting firm. Okay, well, you're familiar with the accounting industry. Maybe you've worked at a real estate company. Well, then you have experience in the real estate, the home hospitality industry. So think about 2 top industries that you're familiar with, and then go ahead and list 3 sub-industries. And sub-industries, so an example, tech industry, a sub-industry of that could be mobile development. Another sub-industry of tech could be social media sites. Sub-industry of that could be virtual reality. So I just want you to think sub-industries under those top industries. Then once you've done that, so this is what my lists look like. So you'll have a list, you have your 5 skill sets. So in my case, again, because I come from the media and advertising world, well, one of my skill sets is that I knew about media and marketing and ad sales. I also, because I was in the sales position, I had to create pitch decks. So I knew how to create decks that position from intro to end in selling basically anything, right? So that was a skill set. I knew how to, because I had been exposed to all areas of marketing and advertising, I knew how to explain all the complex marketing lingo and acronyms that are out there. And trust me, to a startup founder who's launching their app, they know nothing about marketing lingo. So that positions me as an expert to that person, right? Deal forecasting, pipelining, those are all sales activities that I had to do. Marketing material creation, digital product creation. So those were my 5 skill sets that I wrote down. I said, I know how to do each of these things. And that list can get longer and longer too, because if you really break down the things that you do, and some of them you might love, some of them you might not love. Like I actually hated deal forecasting, but I knew how to do it. At this point, I'm just trying to figure out what is it that I can do that I can position myself to get paid for, right? And then with the industries, so my 2 industries, technology was one because I worked in the tech startup spaces, and then media because I worked in the media space. And then the sub-industries under those were mobile app development because I spoke with a lot of teams in that area. Virtual reality was an up-and-coming topic in trend at that time. Analytics technology was also something that fell in there. So you're going to have your list like this, and then I'm going to just want you to keep that list. And then the next thing that you're going to do is now we're going to do some searches. So we're going to go ahead and try to find out who can I go after to pitch my skill sets to. So that way I can go ahead and hustle and get some project money from what it is that I can do. Because trust me, people are out there. And one of the things that, like I said, so I come from a sales world, so you are getting my sales perspective, where the only way, and I will admit this, is that, there's lots of different ways to get out there and make your money. You can grow, and now especially, you can grow your audience on social media. You can market yourself. You can pay for ads. But one of the low and true behold ways that I have earned the most money in my life, because I keep a track of where my income comes in. 2 sources of where my income comes in and where I have made the most income, 6-figure income, is from 1, pitching myself, literally going after and pitching myself to maybe it's like 20 people, whatever, and one of those deals landing. And so I call that the sales process. So one of them has been from just me literally direct selling myself, right? And the second source, and this is the goal because it happens after you pitch yourself, right, is referrals. So yes, social media, marketing, all these things, email, all these things, marketing approaches, they're wonderful and they take a lot of time, and you get fun-filled audiences probably who never buy from you. But the 2 ways I have made the most money in my life has been from directly pitching myself and 2 referrals, which I call the gold, because you get those referrals because people like you, know you, and trust you. Once the referrals come in, easy sale. So you want to get to the referral point. That's another lesson in its own, which I'd love to do a lesson on that, and I can always talk about that. But right now we're going to talk about the sales process. So what I want you to do is go ahead and research companies, because what I did here, so I'm just going to show you an example. You're going to do a Google search, top mobile app development firms, NYC. So that's what I did. And the reason I did that, because if you go back, let me just go back to my list over here. I said that mobile app development was an industry that I knew about. I already knew my skill sets. I already knew what I was going to talk to these companies about, but I needed to find industry first. So I decided, so you know what, let me focus on mobile app development. I'm actually interested in that area. And then you're going to put the area that you're in. So at the time I was in New York City. So you want to look for people in your area. And the reason why I say location, you want to put your current location, is because when you do start doing projects, freelance projects, people, it's easier for people to work with you when you're in that same location because of proximity and trust. It doesn't always have to be that way. Now I don't just work with clients who are in my location. But in the beginning, it's a more easier way to just get people, because you can go in, you can talk to them and chat with them, whatever. So I say start with your location. You can expand out later. So top mobile app development firms NYC, you're going to get a full list. You're going to look on Google, and Google's going to give you those firms. You might actually even change it to top mobile app development startups, so that way you can just focus on smaller companies. And then you're going to get that exhaustive list. And then what you're going to do, you're also going to do is another way. So Google is one way. Another way that you're going to do it is go ahead and you can do a search on. So I love the Instagram search, because lots of small businesses are on Instagram. And, just to kind of put themselves out there, and they are using hashtags because they're also trying to promote themselves. And if you do, so one of the things that I love doing is reaching out to podcast hosts, or reaching out to people who have been interviewed on podcasts, because what happens is a lot of these podcasts that are out there, they're interviewing business owners and startup companies that are revenue generating. So you want to pitch yourselves to companies that are making revenue, because that's the only way they're going to pay you. And you want to find out those companies. So if you do, so let's say you want to start doing some beauty consultation for a fashion company, or some consultation for a beauty company, whatever. Let's say what it is. You can type in hashtag beauty podcasts and then see what comes up. And it just depends on what industry you're typing in, how many podcasts are out there, but there's a ton of podcasts. Lots of people are starting podcasts, interviewing entrepreneurs and startup owners. And so you type in beauty podcast, you will find a podcast that's out there, and then go ahead and listen to that, one of their most recent podcasts, and then find out who was being interviewed on that podcast. Who was that business owner? Usually also they're going to spit out their contact information, their website, how you can find them. And then we're going to talk about how you're going to reach out to that person, that small business that was interviewed on that podcast. So e-commerce. So I particularly work with e-commerce companies. If I want to find out more e-commerce companies that were out there that I can start pitching my company and my team to, I could type in hashtag e-commerce podcast. And there will be lots of different, and so Shopify Plus Experts is one example of a podcast out there that interviews e-commerce companies. I could listen to as many interviews that I want to and make a list of all of those different e-commerce company owners, and start making a list to start reaching out to them. And trust me, not many people are doing this. So, and especially startup companies, not many people are reaching out to startup companies. So you're not going to be, it's not like you're reaching out to Tim Cook, Apple, right? Who gets a tons of like random emails a day. You're reaching out to modest startup founders who are making, they're making money, right? And they do need the help. So you reach out to them, and we're going to tell you how you're going to reach out to them. But you're going to reach out to them and then pitch them your service, your skill sets that you can do. And trust me, if you have a compelling position, they're going to want to hire you. They're going to want to hire you to do some project work for them. Okay. So once you find those industries, start making a list of all the companies that you're going to go after. So that list can get can be an exhaustive one. So when I talk about the sales approach, sales is a numbers game. It's part luck, part strategy, it's all numbers, part luck and part strategy. But you want to make sure that you're just making this list that of all the ones you're going to go after. So whether it be, I think I'll say my list started off with about 20 companies that I started out, and then I reached out to them, landing in the end, so it's a funnel, right? So you reached out to 25, got back to me to conduct conversations, and initially down to one that I landed the deal on. So you're going to reach out to these companies. How are you going to do that? So what you're going to do. So email is still relevant and out there. So we're going to talk about email first, because it's the most, easiest, obvious one. And I'm talking about sending personal emails that are relevant and that are not mass broadcast, that everyone's not getting the same copy and paste email, because trust me, everyone can see through those. So you're going to shoot out an email. Let's say you found this person from their podcast that they were interviewed in. Subject line is going to be catchy. To the point, but catchy. So something like, listen to your interview on XYZ podcast. Then you're going to write an email. Your email is going to be short and sweet. It's not going to be too long, 3 paragraphs max. If you can make it shorter, even great. But the first point that you're going to make is you're going to reference how you know them, how you found them. So let's say if you listen to them on a podcast, you're going to say, hey, so-and-so, I caught the latest episode of, XYZ podcast. I loved your interview with XYZ host. I was particularly intrigued in your interview when you mentioned blah, 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 whatever it is that they mentioned. So specifically take something that they said in that interview and note it to them, because trust me, they were happy that they were on that interview. They remember that they said that quote. So you're going to put it back to them. Then the next paragraph, you're going to subtly show off your knowledge. So you're going to say, it's going to be based on that thing that they mentioned, right? So you're going to bring up that a relevant piece of advice or value add that you have, something unique to you that you know. So for instance, if I were pitching an e-commerce company on my marketing services, what I would do is I'd bring up chatbots because I heard chatbots came up in the conversation, and I would say, so yeah, I heard you guys talked about chatbots in the conversation. I know you said that you were currently trying to figure out which ones to use. I personally use ManyChat. You should go out and try that. That's it. Leave it at that. That's all you need to do. Don't go on and, talk on about, that piece of knowledge that, just give them a short little piece of advice that they can use because it shows off your knowledge. And then last paragraph, I want you to strike a chord, address a pain point. And you can say, I was wondering if you've been having challenges in in actually building a chatbot. Have you been looking for developers? Well, hey, guess what? I work with companies to actually do this. So the last point you're going to make is this call to action. You're going to say, perhaps we can find 15 minutes to chat. I'd love to chat. And that's it. You're just going to make it short and sweet. Put those 3 items in your email, and you're going to send out a few, of course, but trust me, you're going to get responses. You just you have to do more than one. You might land your first one and that'll be awesome, but you're going to have to do more than one, and you're going to position it this way and people will respond. Okay. People are busy. You have to give them time. You actually may even have to do a second follow-up too. So if it's a company that you really, really want to work with, go ahead and put out a second follow-up. So just, go ahead and take that email a week later and just say, hey, just wanted to check back in and see if you got my email. If you're busy, no problem. Trust me, people will get back to you. And if they can't get back to you right away, they'll remember you at least. Okay. So just go ahead and do that action. If you're not doing it in email, if you can't find the email of this particular person, trust me, social media direct messages are still a way to go about it. I say you can do direct messages. Let's say if it's an Instagram or Facebook Messenger, you could actually do Twitter. So I know another consultant in this space, and he tweets. He gets his businesses all by doing Twitter, and I call it Twitter networking. So he does it that way. So if you go ahead and find that person that you're looking for, and then shoot a very short and sweet. So you really don't want to make it long when it comes to direct messages and social media. Make it short and sweet and to the point. Do not copy and paste the same message to everyone, and just do a simple little note. And again, address how you found them or how you know them, and write them a short and sweet message. So this example of this would be, hey, Jenny, heard you on the e-commerce podcast, XYZ podcast. You mentioned challenges with producing content. I'd love to help. Maybe we can chat and I can show you some examples of my work. Something short and sweet. I actually also even feel that you don't even need to make it that long when it comes to something like Instagram, because first of all, they can just go back to your profile and then look at you, and then they'll decide, okay, based on that person's profile, I like what they do. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to talk to them. So you can make it even shorter on social media. So you have to do this. So I know every time that I put this out to, my students and everyone who I say, this is what you have to do, they're like, no, this is so long. And I don't want to do this. And I feel uncomfortable doing this. And I know why, because you're putting yourself out there, you're selling yourself. But like I said, I love to tell you that, and trust me, you're going to have to do, there's, as you grow, there's going to be all the social media stuff and things that you need to do, and you should do them. But I'm just going to say from my personal experience, the way I've made the biggest dollars is by going to people one-on-one, introducing myself to them in a truly relevant, crafted message. And that's what's bought me in the bucks every single time. So I just won't stop doing it, because I'm just like, it works, and you just got to do it. Stick with me long enough, and I'll tell you how you can get some of these automated. But for right now, that's not what this conversation is about. We're getting you to start at your point, which is baby steps. Okay. All right. So you're going to do this. You're going to rinse and repeat. You're going to find more people to reach out to until you nail that person, that job, that gig, that consultancy that you're trying to get. So it's a rinse and repeat method. You're going to just make it a goal of pitching out your unique skills, your services. And I will say this, put a number on it, do it to at least 5 companies a week, and you will start seeing results. Okay. All right. Next one up, we're coming over to the second one, and then we're gonna close out pretty soon because these ones are pretty quick. So I want you to get super specific on your goals once you start getting, as you start putting out your messages, and hopefully even as you start getting side hustles. So it's really important to be super specific on your goals because I love this quote here: setting goals is the first step to turning invisible into visible. So if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to know how to get there. So you have to say, what's my specific goal? What is it that I want to do? And then you're going to plan out the steps to get there. And so I told you guys earlier, I teach marketing. It's the same approach I teach when I tell people, how do you set up a marketing campaign? Well, you got to set up a marketing goal, and then you're going to set up the tactics that you need to do to achieve that marketing goal. So same thing happens when it comes to life, right? And it comes to pitching your businesses. So we're going to help you get specific. You're going to get specific by answering the questions why, what, and when. All right. So what you're going to do is first you're going to write down your why. Why is it that you want to leave what you're doing right now, and what's out there waiting for you? So what's in there? What's on your dream horizon? Then the what is it that you want to do? And I want you to dream big here. Exclude any money out there. Forget about money. Forget, if you had enough money, you do this. Just write it down. What is it that you want to do? Do you want to teach people to do yoga at your local gym? Or even bigger, do you want to travel the world while hosting yoga retreats? So I just want you to expand that. So don't just say, hey, this is what I want to do, because the freelancer, the side hustle stuff, that's kind of the small stuff, but eventually you're going to go bigger, right? So what is it that you really want to do? The dream big. And then the when. When do you want to do it? So now I want you to put a date on it. So if you say, okay, I want to start my own fashion personal stylist company, and I want to be able to achieve that by December 1st, 2019, go ahead and put that. Because then in the middle, what we're going to do is we're going to plan out the steps that you need to do to get to that end goal. Okay. So you got your side hustles going on, you're pitching companies, you're starting to get little traction here, and proposals are going out. As you start refining that, and as you start getting those gigs, now I want you to get even more specific and get super specific on what is it that you really want to do in that long run. Okay. And then once you do that, we're going to talk about niching. So you've got your side hustle going on, you've got your projects, you're figuring out different projects that are happening. Some of them you like, some of them you don't like so much. Now we need to figure out what is it that what is it that you want to continue doing and that you really love. So this is where niching comes in. So niche, what it is and all it's about is basically getting your products now super specific, and the customers that you target super specific. So, we started off with looking at making a list of all these companies that we could pitch our services to and different types of services to, just so we can get that first little bit of income coming in. Now we've got income coming in. Now let's niche. Let's get niche. And when it comes to niche, it's just about finding your sweet spot. It's all about finding what it is that you're really good at, what you really like doing when you were doing those side hustles. And I always like to say, while you've been getting paid in your side hustle, you're gaining market research, learning what you like to do. So people are going to ask you, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? And you're going to say, yeah, I can do that. And you're going to charge for it, whatever. As you start to get niched, get further and further niche, you're going to now demand what you want to do. And it's going to allow you to get paid even more and demand more money because you're now dictating what you've done. And I've done that. It's been my whole path. I started off in the very beginning because I wasn't sure. I just started taking projects, writing, and then I realized I don't like to write for money. So, I've started off content marketing and doing, social media content and all of that. And I was like, I don't like this. It takes too much time. I'm good at it, but I just don't like it. So I realized that early on, and I further niched down. And like I told you, I got certified in email marketing automation tech, and I was like, I like this. And I was able to do it over and over and over again and get better at it and spend less time doing it. So my billable hours basically were even more now because I could do it quicker and charge more for it I'm at a point, so I'll tell clients, no, I can't take you right now because I have a set number of clients that I work with, and that's it at the time. So getting super specific in niche allows you to make more money and demand what you like to do. So as you start getting projects, you're going to figure out which projects were you most engaged in, which one did you really like a lot, which ones could you repeat, and do you enjoy repeating the process? And then you're also going to start to, once you start narrowing those down, what were the attributes of those projects that you like? So what type of companies were they? What was the size? How many employees did they have? Were you talking to one person, a direct contact? Were you talking to multiple people? Were you able to run the ship, or did you always have to get approvals and things like that before you continued on? Because what that's going to do as you start narrowing that down, that who those companies are, what you're forming is, it's called your customer persona. So your customer persona is basically the specific target that you're going to continue to reach out to and now further expand your business. So you're now at a point where you can form a customer persona because you started getting sales in. One of the things that and it's not to knock it, but it's just something that it's kind of like the thing that goes out in the marketing world, which is find out who your persona is, find out who your persona is. But if you don't have any customers and you spend all this time crafting the perfect persona and you realize that's not who's buying from you, or no one's bought from you, you spend all this time, budget, and money crafting a persona, but you have no customers and you don't have a product that you're selling. So I always say, start getting some sales and start getting some customers in. So that way you can now find out what's happening, what's the process that's happening, what do you like, and then start going further down. And then you craft your perfect customer persona based on those different sales that you come in. So that's my particular stance and how I like to take on marketing and selling. And then after that, then you're going to pitch and show off. So now that you've got those good projects that came in, get some testimonials and those customers that you like working with the most. And those customers are also going to refer you. And that's why I said those referral dollars, that's where it comes in. When customers start referring you, those are the easy sales. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to write a proposal. You don't have to write a pitch. It just happens because your last customer says you were awesome, refers you to the next customer. All right. So that's what you need to do. The 3 things that you need to do and to get them going. Once you've started doing that, so now I just want to talk to this last part, what I call is the bonus, the critical ALP. So you got your hustle going, you figured out what you're really good at, what you like doing, you've gotten a niche. This critical ALP that I talk about, so it's something, what I say, it's advice that was given to me early on. So it was about 2 weeks before I quit, I got specific advice from people in my life who were in the space, and I'm so glad I took it. And there's different stances on it. So it's up to you how you plan to go about it. But I was happy I did it. And I would even say, do it once you're ready to quit, or if not, do it before, if you can, if it's possible. But what I did, and I'm happy I did, is I got my accountant in order on day 1. I got legal in order on day 1, which means I legalized my business. I formed an entity. And then also what I am going to say is don't wait to promote. So start doing that earlier, if not before, but just start promoting. Don't wait. But I'm just going to talk about the first 2. So, hey, I'm not an accountant advisor. I'm not a finance advisor. I'm not a legal professional. I think you should seek out advice for those. You should seek out those professionals. But I am glad that I, again, sought out those professionals to get my business, to get my bookkeeping in order, basically keeping my finances separate. So yes, there's my personal income, but I also had business income. So those were separate. Money wasn't going into the same account. And that was through the advice, having an accountant, I was able to just understand, oh, this is how businesses work. I think usually when you're freelancing, starting off, you just don't know to do that, or you just don't do it, or maybe there's just some hindrance with money, the reason why you can't do it. So that's why I'm saying, if you have a job right now, get these things set up while you have a job. I actually waited till I had quit, but it was on day 1 that I quit that I did it, which was like, oh man, but if I had done it, even if it was 6 months before I was still working, that wouldn't have been as much as a hurt on the bank. But I say, get your books in order if you can on day 1 or before. And then the legal entity structure of it, again, my personal opinion, the reason why I'm just glad that I did it, because I think it's more psychological. It helped me to just really realize that this was real. I filed this business, so I need to keep it going. If not, the government's going to say it's a hobby, right? So I have to keep this business going. So legalizing the business and making it a formal entity just helped me to be serious. And now you just have this team. You have an accountant advisor, you have a legal advisor. You need to reach out with anything, and you really feel like you're a firm company. So that's my advice on that critical ALP. I'm so glad I did it. Seek out advice on that. Like I said, I'm not a professional in any of these areas. I sought professionals in these areas, and I'm glad I did. All right. So tell me, does this seem like a lot of work? And I know it does. you got to put in the work, like I said, but that's the only way you're going to see action. So if you feel like this is a lot of work, just go ahead and say, yes, I'm exhausted in the chat. Don't worry, I won't feel offended, because I know it is. I like to push people. I always like to say, think of me like your personal trainer. I'm going to tell you, keep on doing the crunches until it hurts, because that's the only way you're going to see results. So if you feel like it's a lot of work, raise your hand. I don't mind. I know it is, but the results in the end will be amazing. Let me just tell you about how much time this should take you. So if you really are committed to doing this, you know that okay, I'm ready to start finding these clients. I know that I also want to get super specific, and I know I need to start niching down eventually. You can do this in 90 days. You got to put in the time. In the first 30 days, I want you to be pitching out these companies. So set a goal. Say you're gonna pitch 20 companies by the end of the month. Increase that number. 20 is not enough. It's not a lot, actually. Like I said, I'm your personal trainer. I actually want to tell you to do 50 or 100, but I'm going to be lenient on here because I don't know you guys so well. Eventually, once I get to know you, I might tell you to do more. But pitch 20 companies by the end of the month and set yourself a goal to do that. Then after you should, if you pitch enough companies, you should get at least one proposal, if not secured deals. You should get at least one proposal, someone in conversation with you. After you've landed those clients, a client or two, so hopefully let's say you can get this in day 45, then you want to start getting specific on your goals. Now really start getting bigger and saying, what is it that I really want to do? What's my big goal? And then after you've gone through that process and you have your first client or two, start niching down. So like I said, you don't need to niche right away, but start figuring out how you're going to niche a little later. So you can do this in 90 days. If you need more time to do it, take more time to do it. I'm just saying, if any of you I need to start getting this done. The new year's happening. I don't want to be in the same position that I'm in now in the next 6 months. You can put a 90-day timeline to yourself. If you feel like you have a little bit more wiggle room, open up that timeline, make it 180 days. That's totally fine. The whole point is that if you get these things going and by the time you're ready to quit, you've gone through all this process, you're going to be so comfortable. You're not going to be stressed about quitting. You're going to feel like you got this, and you're going to feel like you can do this without any worries. Okay. Yeah, it's structure. I think so someone just wrote in the comment, thank you for that, because I think it's a good point, is no, because it has structure, you get overwhelmed when it doesn't have a plan. And so that's something that I actually want to note, right? So whenever I don't put a plan to anything and I'm just like, I'm going to actually use this thing. I want to start doing live trainings. In my head, it seems so overwhelming, all the things that I need to do in order to get the live trainings going. And then I just don't do it, right? So being overwhelmed leads to inaction. But when I say, okay, let me sit down, let me put a timeline to this, and let me say that these are the dates I'm going to have the live training. These are when the emails are going to out. This is when I'm going to promote. And I put this all on a timeline. Can I tell you, things get done. One, because I'm accountable to myself, because I'm like, there's a timeline, I'm looking at it and I need to do it. And two, because it's all there for you. It's all there when it comes to just looking at the timeline and knowing that you have to do it. So good point in that about just having some structure. Let me answer another question that's in here. So do you have any advice on juggling your full-time job while trying to leave with your new clients while you're building before you fully quit? Yeah, good question there. So I do have advice on that. So it is a timing thing. It definitely depends, what are the commitments of your full-time job, and then what are the commitments from your clients. So I'm just going to give the example is if you're doing some kind of digital work or some kind of online work, then one thing that you can do is you just slot it out. So you may be, and I'm going to say this is going to be kind of the unpretty moments of your life where you may be working at night on your gig, right? On your clients. You may be doing those things at night or on your lunch break while you're doing your full-time committed job in the daytime. And that's just going to be the way you're going to have to do it. And it's going to be, probably some sleepless nights. So that's one of the things. If you're in a position where, let's say, I'm going to put this, so one thing that I couldn't imagine, but I know there's actually even some of the contractors that I work with, actually, they do have full-time jobs and then they manage working with me, and they do it very efficiently. And sometimes that happens because some of them are in different time zones, which that's actually worked to my benefit, because then we're just able to toggle it that way. So, but for you, let's say if you have a client who they need your hours. You're supposed to do social media posts for them. Let's put that example. And they need the post at 10 o'clock in the morning, but yet you're at work in those hours. Then that can pose some kind of issues. So one thing that I would say to do is, it really depends on what you're doing. You may want to drop in the subject line, like what it is that you're actually doing on the side project. But I know in my world, there's a lot of things that I can just kind of get these things scheduled in advance. The other thing that you can do is actually kind of get your clients at the moment on some kind of schedule. So here's the hours when you can reach out to me and I'm going to be available. Here's the hours where I'll be working on your business. So you may want to get your client structured. If you can, if it's possible, you may even want to get your job structured. The other thing, and I know this is not easy, but it could possibly be worked out, where you work out with your job. If you've been at your job for some time and you have a good rapport there, is you may, if it's possible, depending on what you do, you may want to work out that with your boss, some kind of work from home structure where, hey, every Fridays I work from home. It's a little bit more realistic in today's time and age. And if they ask why, you don't have to tell them that you're working on your business. You can say it's, for XYZ reasons. I mean, I don't think that those things even need to be shared, but it's all about just really figuring out structure. But I think one of the more easier things that you can do is talking to your clients. And like I said, I don't let my clients run me. I run them because you just need to have control over your life. You'll go crazy. And we're not trying to get you into a situation where you have 20 bosses, right? You're the boss of your own company. You're the boss of your own business, your own side hustle. So get your clients on a structure if that's possible as well. And train them too. One thing, so I used to be like this when I was working. I was always on call with emails. I was always answering anyone's emails every time they wrote me back right away. My boss was just so used to me. Saturday morning, I'd write back. And I did that into working on my biz. And of course, that's why clients love me. They're like, Jennifer's always responsive. Jenny always answers. And then I had to take that time back around last year, around the holidays. I was like, I can't, no, this is not good. No. And I started pausing my inbox, which I can let you know a tool that's really good for that. I started pausing my inboxes. And then I actually even started turning off the notifications, and I checked the email on my time. So there were hours where I checked my email to respond to clients. And then they got used to me responding in those hours. So you got to train your clients sometimes too, especially if you're still doing your hustle. All right. So any more, let me know if, yeah, you're welcome. Oh, good. Yeah. You're welcome. Like the client structure that can make it more manageable. Yeah. Structure is key. Yeah. Like I said, guys, this is not magic. It's really about structure. So let me know how each of you guys are feeling. Any more comments that are up there that you guys want to put out there, just let me know, and I can answer them, or you can feel free to put them in the Q&A. Also, let me know how you feel. If you feel like you can do this, if you feel like this is manageable, go ahead and put that in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just we'll still have some time for Q&A. Let me just go ahead and let you know what's coming up so you know what's happening here. So doors officially open. So like I said, I had my soft opening for the live training yesterday. So that group got introduced to it. And now you guys are officially the second group getting introduced to the workshop that's opening. It's the Risk Takers Roadmap. So what it is 60 days to building and marketing your side hustle, consultancy, or freelance business with profit while doing it from anywhere. So at this point, it might be from your job, right? But if and ready, you're ready to quit, you can do that from anywhere. So it's a fully packed course. I created this course because what happened to me is like, I kept on doing my thing. And all my friends know me, my parents, my family, and they just say, you know what, Jennifer, Jenny, you're the person who just says you're going to do something and it happens. And they think it's like magic or it's easy for me, or I don't have luck. I don't have magic. It's none of that. There's just things that I do to put in the work. And I don't really talk about it because I'm not a bragger or anything like that. But also because, like I said, I've taught live workshops, and then students would ask me the same question because a lot of the stuff I do is on marketing. But then they said, but how did you start your hustle? How did you start your business? So I said, you know what, let me put this into a course and let me talk about that. And let me get people through the steps that I've done. And what this course is designed to do, it's designed to get people from, I'm ready to quit my job and pursue my passion, but I don't know what to do about it, to, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And I know exactly who my customers are and who I'm going to go after. And I know exactly what I have to do to get my first paying customer. So I call it the Risk Takers Roadmap because when you start doing these things, people are going to start to call you a risk taker, and you may not even consider yourself a risk taker. I like to consider myself a risk taker, but I call myself a calculated risk taker. As you can see, organization is key to me. So it's not about just free-nilly just jumping off the cliff. It's about jumping off the cliff, but what no one knows is that I have a pillow all the way down at the end waiting for me. So it's about really getting yourself secure before you take those risks. So what this course is about It opens up. It's open up today. We're having the launch going on through the end of next week. It's 6 robust course modules, and they're all going to be designed to specifically help you get specific about your goals and setting actionable steps so you can have a risk mitigated plan. So like I said, it's calculated risk, not just straight up jumping off the cliff. Step-by-step playbooks. Learn exactly the moves I made, and we're going to craft the moves that you need to make in order to kickstart your business or just really get your hustle going and make it a full-time business. So learn how to go from that office job to work from anywhere you need to, anywhere, right? To how can you make money while doing it. We're also going to get super specific with the vision box. So the vision box, vision board, I used to do vision boards. I created, not proprietary or anything, but I created what I call the vision boxes, which is basically putting out my vision into box compartments so you can find out your specific why. And when I launched my business, it was because I had created a vision for myself. And I had always knocked the vision boards, Oprah used to do it. And I was like, what is that? The secret, all of that. I really didn't believe in it. And then I decided a vision board, because I need to figure out what I need to do. And I got my magazines, I got my clippings and all of that. And I did it. I actually did it. And lo and behold, when I quit, the things started happening that were on my vision. So for me, that part is magic, because I never believed just doing some kind of vision activity would help to make things happen. So it can happen in any type of way, but the fact is you have to do a vision. So we're going to work on that in that course. We're also going to do a risk assessment calculator. So it's a formula that I have in there for you to just really determine if you should take this risk and if you're ready to take that risk right now. And then, because part of quitting is about, or your job, or really going off on your own, is about the income, right? And the money. And if you don't have a savings, if you have debt, how do you alleviate some of that, so that way you have this cushion when you do go off on your own? Because trust me, even though I say money is not everything, money is not the thing that makes you happy. When you have a cushion that you can say, okay, I'm gonna take this leap because I know that there's this little money that I can touch if something has to happen. And I've always had that cushion, because I don't come from wealth or a privilege or a family that has money. Trust me, no one's able to support me. I had to basically build these cushions up by doing different type of savings tactics. And every time I am ready to take a bold move, I'm able to say, okay, I have this money sitting aside that can help me. And I've been lucky, knock on wood, whenever I've taken these bold moves, I haven't even had to use those cushions, because I made the moves to, like I said, in these earlier steps, make money while you're taking it, so that way you're not taking a loss. So we're going to talk about also get paid a little strategy in this course. So how do you really kick off that side hustle before you quit, and how do you start getting paid a little? So this is where I implement my sales winning strategies to you guys. We're going to actually get you to build out your persona. So how do you really get specific on who your customers are, and how you start reaching out to them? And then templates and sales pitches. So depending on what it is that you're selling, what it is that you're trying to hustle out there, I'm going to help you get specific about crafting that message and putting it out there and pitching yourself, because sales is, like I said, sales is key. If you're not selling, if you're just marketing, you're not selling, you're not getting money. So you're going to have to sell eventually. So that way, all you have to do is market, right? And you can hopefully do that inbound free marketing, but you have to start with selling yourself first if you have not done that yet. All of these tips and tricks, we're going to have the actual launch tracker that's included in this, because all of it is about structure. So whenever I have a timeline tracker, that's when things work for me. So the timeline risk taker time launch tracker is going to be on there too for you, and you'll be able to have that. And then in this course, we're going to have live Q&A sessions. So there's going to be three live Q&A calls that are going to happen. So as you're going through the course, you're going to have these questions, and then we're going to join weekly for these. Because this is a winter cohort for this class, those live Q&A sessions are not going to happen until the mid and end of January. So that way we can let the holidays go by. And I know some people may not be able to start right away, but you'll get access to the course the minute you enroll, and you can start as soon as you want to, but it's also okay if you start once January comes along because of that. The reason why I'm offering it out now, though, and not waiting till January, is because I do want to get people enrolled now and started now before the new year comes, and then I'll be closing enrollment. So let's just talk about that in a second when enrollment closes. So again, what's included in this? So like I said, you're going to get the step-by-step videos. It's all going to be structured in there, so you can go at a simple pace. I actually have a schedule scheduled a suggested timeline of how you should be following the course, so that way you can stay on track. Like I said, it is self-paced, so if you can't go with my suggested timeline, that's fine. But the whole purpose of the timeline is to keep you on track with the live Q&As that are going to come up. Video modules will be in there, so you'll be able to go throughout the course watching videos and screen shares that are done by me. Mapping exercises. So these are going to be exercises about clarity and getting you really super clear. And then workshops and workbooks and challenges will be in there. So I'm really excited about the savings challenge, because it was the aggressive, you're going to get a few examples of the aggressive challenges that I did for myself when I was starting off, and it was aggressive, but I made it happen, right? And then the live Q&As. So it's all here. You're going to get, basically, you're going to be learning this from someone who's been there, done that, and then taught that, right? So I'm constantly telling people how, what they need to do and what do they need to do to get there. So we're opening that up, and enrollment starts today. So all of this, because, my time, my work, you're getting that firsthand access for me. All of this would be totaled out to just, this stuff alone that's in the course, nearly $2,000. So by you taking advantage, I'm going to introduce the bonuses that are going to come with this and how much this is going to cost, because I'm cutting the price right now, especially because we're launching this before the holiday. And then we're going to have these live Q&As happening in the new year. So there's a price cut that's happening. I'm starting the early bird. It's opening. So the early bird starts now. You'll be able to take advantage of the early bird now through December 10th/11th, depending on what time zone you're in. You'll get email reminders. Don't worry. There's going to be a little time clock on the page itself, so you'll always be able to keep track of when the early bird price is going to end. So that will end around 12/10, 12/11, and then your cart, the cart's going to completely close on 12/14. So after next Friday, I believe that's next Friday, this course will no longer be. It'll be closed for basically the winter, for 2018, and it won't open up again until I decide to publish it again. So you'll want to enroll today if you want to be a part of this winter cohort. Okay, so opens up today. All of this is included. You're going to get all of that. I've reduced the price basically in half, all right, to $997. And that's the early bird rate that you're going to get through the end of December 10th. So you want to take advantage of that if you can right now, and you'll get all of that. If you are taking advantage of the early bird offer, I am also, it's not stopping here. Something that I'm including are bonuses, because I think bonuses are going to help you. So the whole Risk Takers Roadmap is about getting you structured and getting you where you need to be when it comes in terms of just getting your side hustle going. Now the marketing, right? I said the marketing is going to have to come up. So how do you start really getting those marketing? I come from a marketing world. I teach marketing. So you're going to get a lot of the stuff. And I might actually be throwing some more stuff in there. As I create things, sometimes I just love to throw those freebies out to my class. But for right now, what's definitely in the bonuses offer, lots of good stuff. So you're going to get a proposal template. It's going to be the exact proposal template, which has been even modified to be even better now. But the exact proposal template that won me my first client deal. At 36K, that got a 42 renewal. So you're going to get that template. You're going to get exact proposal templates that you need to send out and that you can send out to clients as you're pitching them. You're going to get, so I'm actually introducing in February 2018, my How to Grow Your Email List in 30 Days is launching. So that is not hasn't opened up to the public yet, but you're going to get that first access, and you're going to get it for free as a part of this course. It's going to be dropped into your school module once you do, if you do sign up using the early bird package, and that will be in your course. So I've taught this class live. It's always been a hit. It's my unique tactics. I told you my agency's revolved around email marketing. So you're going to get some nice stuff in that course alone that has a 297 value normally, right? So that'll be in there. You're going to get the Risk Takers Toolkit. So whenever I talk to my students, they're always like, what tools do you use? What's the best tool? And trust me, there's a ton. Oh my God, in marketing, there's a ton of tools out there. I'm going to give you a jam-packed list of tools. So there's lots of out there. There's some that I don't recommend you try. There's some that I do recommend you try, but I always say, try out tools and then see which one works best for you. Okay. I can tell you, especially with email marketing, I can tell you which tools are the best, but you do need to find out the ones that are best for you. What I'm going to do for you in this toolkit though, is give you the top ones that I recommend, and then you'll be able to choose, and I'll show you the pros and cons of each tools. But it's an exhaustive tool list. I've been keeping this list. Oh my gosh, it's been about 3 years now that I've been keeping this list of just tools that I get exposed to from conferences, from colleagues in the marketplace. And you'll be able to just understand, if you need webinar tools, you'll see an exhaustive list of different webinar tools that you need. If you need proposal invoicing tools, you'll see different ones there. Bookkeeping, anything like that, it's all going to be there. So just like as a hustler, as a risk taker, what kind of tool access do you need? And you have links to those. You're going to get, Instagram hashtags, not definitely a secret out there of how you get how you start getting followers on Instagram, but you'll get my hashtag formula consultants edition that will be included in this package. Also blogging, if you are going to start blogging out. So I will say the way I get traffic to my page when I don't even market has to do with me blogging on my page. And when I blog, whenever I create, you know, and I know this because I'm in marketing, it's a little kept secret. Blogging's not dead. The reason why we have blogs is because it's the one thing that keeps Google, Google's a fair game. It doesn't care how many followers you have. It just cares that when people look for a certain keyword on the search engines, that your content is relevant to that. And the more people start clicking on your content and reading your content and spending time in your content, the more Google puts up your articles, and you can turn up on the top page of Google. And trust me, that is the thing that still brings me traffic to this day without even have to paying for it. Blogs that I wrote like 2 years ago, right? For my business. So I'm going to give you the blogging SEO step-by-step checklist. It's basically a guide of what you need to do to make sure that you're getting that exposure that you want for free because of your writing. And it could also go for like vlogging, video blogging if you're more into video and stuff like that. All right. And then also the networking. So I have a 5-day mini course and you'll be able to enroll in that and opt into it once you're ready to do that. But navigating the network, the keys to networking and being successful at networking in person or on the internet, right? So I'm a big fan. I've met a lot of good colleagues and business contacts and clients through social media networking is what I call it, you know? So you're going to get that as well. So all of that still included. Basically close to a $2,000 value, still getting it at this price, which is a steal. And then last thing, because I know there's people who are just like absolutely ready. And if you are, then I'm just, really adding this as a sweetener, which I call the giveaway, which is if you do get this now in the next hour, so in the next 60 minutes, so it'll start at the time this webinar shuts off, you will get, and if you buy it now within the next 60 minutes, you will get 2 free one-on-one coaching sessions with me personally. And that's going to be your one-on-one time. So obviously different from the group calls, it's going to be a one-on-one time that we'll be able to talk. It'll be about you personally, what you're doing, what are the challenges that you're facing. I'll be able to hear you out and get you to just really do things, get that structure that you need. And it's a little bit more in a customized manner. And I always say this, like, what are you getting, after this call? Well, then you're going to get the Jenny scription, right? The prescription of what it is that you need to do, fully customized and detailed according to your specific needs and problems. So that way it's directly related to you. So if you do get enrolled in the next 60 minutes, you will still get all of this plus this extra bonus, which is a steal because like you're really getting like my time still for $9.97. So if you're ready to activate now and you want to take advantage of that, go ahead. If not, the early bird ends on December 10th. And then, like I said, the cart officially closes on 12/14. So I'm excited about this winter cohort that's coming up and excited to get to know, anyone who's behind this chat, anyone who wants to enroll, get to know you guys personally once you guys are in this course. So I will send an email. You guys are going to get an email with the replay to this whole live webinar after, just to give it about an hour or two. We just need to make sure the video downloads, and then you'll get that email with the replay link if you want to watch this later. If you want to activate right now, I'm going to actually do this. Let me actually give you the link because that would be important for you. Let me close my screen and actually show my face here. All right, there I am, guys. Let me give you the link. So if you guys are ready to activate right now, I'm going to show you the link right now, and you'll be able to enroll now. You can check out the site now. And then if you want to wait, no problem, then just go ahead and check your email in the next hour or two, and you'll receive a link to the replay so you can watch this over, watch it anytime you want. The replay will pretty much stay up forever. And then you can also sign into and check out the Risk Takers Roadmap website, look at that more and see what that's about, okay? So any last minute questions, just go ahead and shoot those in the chat. If you have any questions that you want to ask later that didn't come up now, I'm actually going to give you an email that you can write to. I'm actually collecting all questions and I'll be able to answer them in unison. Let me just type I just put it in the chat. If you have any other questions after this, just shoot an email at the team at jennymiranda.com, and I'll be looking at those and answering them in just a whole summary of different questions that came up. So shoot an email out to that email address to answer any questions. Check out the email that's going to come to you in about 2 hours. And I'm glad you guys joined the chat, and I'm looking forward to hopefully getting to know you guys more. And give you guys about just 2 more minutes. If there's any other questions that come up, just shoot them in the chat. And if not, I will see you guys soon. And stay tuned for any other live trainings that I have coming up. You'll get those reminders and emails definitely into the new year. Cool. So I'll stick around. Any questions, just shoot them out. If not, you're free to go, and see you soon, hopefully. But yeah, any questions about the course, any questions about the topic that we ran today, just let me know. You're welcome. Yeah, thanks. Everyone's saying thank you. So that's good. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that you guys were able to stay through this. And hopefully you guys got some inspiration. That's really what I'm mainly about. You know, whatever it is that you decide to do, my whole main thing is just go out and do it, get some inspiration. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining. All right. Just another 30 seconds. If you do have any other questions, just put it in the chat. If you don't, we will sign off in 30 seconds, counting down. All right. See you guys later. Check your emails in 2 hours and you'll get the link to the replay. Bye, guys.